Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is chapter 37 of Future, and this one is titled, Welcome, Bakugo. Kaminari and Kairi flopped into bed and slept till 2 p.m. the next day, utterly exhausted from last night. Kaminari had cuddled her all night, always making sure that an arm was around her or a leg was touching hers. She loved it. Her ex had always just rolled away after sex and didn't want to cuddle, which had always left her feeling empty inside. After getting up and having a shower together, Kaminari made breakfast. Kairi felt complete, not in a weird clingy way, but in a way that made her feel like Kaminari completely understood her and was happy to be there for her on so many different levels. She was smiling and laughing again. Her world was full of colour. I'm thinking of going back to my original hair colour, babe, Kairi said as they were eating breakfast together. Original? So you're not a naturally black-haired beauty? Kaminari asked with a wink. No, actually, I'm blonde, she said with a giggle. As blonde as you. You kidding? Kaminari deadpanned. Dead serious, she said with a laugh. I just have a good hairdresser. You got pics of what you looked like before? He asked, shoveling another mouthful of food in. Kairi nodded and pulled her phone out to flick over some older pics. Kaminari just stared at her picture as the phone was handed to him. Whoa, he breathed. It was short. And even your piercings are gone. Yeah, Kairi giggled nervously. I kind of went off all the deep ends after the divorce, let my hair grow out, got it dyed jet black, got piercings, all the usual FUs. Yeah, I can see that. Kaminari laughed as he looked back and forth between Kairi in the picture and the Kairi sitting adjacent to him. Well, you're hot in either form, so you do you, babe. I'm down for any version, he said with a wink as he went back to eating. Kairi was elated. She was loving having a supportive boyfriend. This was all so foreign to her. She leaned across the table and kissed his cheek. You're amazing, she said with a giant grin. No, he said with a cheeky, cheeks filled with food grin. Kairi snorted and shook her head as she laughed. Later that week, Kaminari was itching to get to Mother's group because, well, his girlfriend was going to be there, and he was dying to see her again. She had told him she was having a haircut and colour, so he was dying to see what she looked like. He helped Kiri get Ginny out of the car, and then carried the little toddler to the front door, and then put her down. Little Ginny was standing and walking now, and absolutely loved Daddy and Akodeki, as she called him. Kaminari was like a second father to her, and she was always at her most happiest when she was with the two of them. How's Yin going with pregnancy this time around, dude? Kaminari asked Kiri as the redhead walked up beside him and pushed the door open for Ginny. Yeah, really good, bro. It's a bit harder on her body this time around, as it's twins. Both babies doing really well, and 2 boys, might I add. But she's such a trooper, he gushed with a smile. You are close to 4 months of pregnancy now, and super happy to be having twins, and boys at that. Ginny was about 1 year and 3 months now. She would be about 2 years old when the next babies arrived, so you were looking forward to having Kaminari and Kairi help out a bit, which Kaminari was elated to be tasked with. You heard much from Bakugo? Kaminari asked as they entered the building. Kiri chuckled. You can ask him yourself. He's coming to Mother's group today. His missus isn't the happiest in pregnancy and hockey is a handful, so she's kicked them both out for the day so she can sleep. Kaminari laughed. Serves him right to get kicked out for a bit, he said. Suddenly a blonde bombshell caught his eye and he stopped in his tracks. Kai? He called. The blonde turned. It was Kairi, with a long pixie cut. Her piercings were gone, save 2 beautiful earrings, and she just looked fresh. Hey babe, she said shyly. Kaminari was spellbound. Come here, he said with a smirk as he lowered his head seductively. Take a look at this, babe, will ya? He whispered into her ear as he pulled her in for a hug, grabbing a handful of her ass in the process. Kairi giggled happily. Stop it, she chided playfully. Suddenly the door burst open, and Bakugo marched in with Hockey in arms. The unsuspecting mothers of the group nearly died. There were now 3 big-name heroes in the room. Red Riot, who they all knew well and loved to gloat about his presence at their mother's group to their friends. Charge Bolt, who they would swoon over and accept all of his affections and care for their babies. And now the hot-headed, hot-bodied hero, Dynamite, with his little boy who was a spitting image of his dad. All eyes were immediately on him, as he marched over to Kiri with a sharp jolt of his chin up and a quick eyebrow raise accompanied by a "Hey." For the second time in Mother's group history, panties dropped at his presence. How does he do that? Kaminari chuckled as he turned his head back to Kairi. Do what? She asked curiously, still with arms wrapped around her man. Ignore the ladies and get their immediate attention? Kaminari laughed. The more he ignores them, the more turned on they seem to get. Hoki had seen Ginny and toddled over to her, eyeing her dubiously before sitting down on the floor next to her. She looked up at him and smiled. Hoki blinked a few times as he stared into her eyes. He seemed to be almost mesmerized. Ginny looked at Bakugo, and then her dad, and then pointed to Chisuki. Pity, she said with a giggle. Pity? Bakugo shot angrily. You pity him? No, bro. She's saying pretty. Kiri laughed. Is he pretty, baby? He asked softly, turning to Ginny as she nodded and giggled again. When? She exclaimed happily. And there is the end of chapter 37. See you tomorrow in chapter 38.